Hey there, it's Robin, and you're listening to Healthy Habits for a Healthier Home. I'm here to help you create a healthier life, one simple shift at a time. If you're a mama ready to ditch toxins, clean up your family's nutrition, and build daily habits that support your well-being, you're definitely in the right place. Each episode is packed not only with education, but practical tips and tools to help you transform your health and your home without that feeling of overwhelm. So let's take this journey together to create a thriving, low-tox home for you and your family. If you're ready, say, I am ready. Now let's get into this episode. Hey y'all, welcome back to the Healthy Habits for a Healthier Home podcast. I'm Robin and I'm so excited that you're joining me today. Today we're going to be doing a solo episode. I just wanted to kind of catch up and go over some of the most exciting things that have been happening in the health and wellness industry over the last couple of months. Well, I mean, it's been taking a lot longer than the last couple of months, but what's come to fruition over the last couple of months that I think are really important. So the first thing that I want to share with you guys that I'm super excited about is women's health. So the FDA created a roundtable. There was a bunch of doctors, all different types of doctors that came together with research, with different elements of what they know, how they've been treating their patients. And finally, after many, many, many years, the black box warning label has come off or been removed from HRT, which is super exciting for people that are in midlife. So let me just give you a quick refresh. In 2002, there was a women's health study that was done, and it created a lot of chaos within women's health, scaring a lot of people from using HRT, which ensued an entire generation of women who have suffered, including my mom, probably your mom, maybe yourself included. So I just wanted to kind of go over what happened. First of all, I want to say that if you have not watched the M Factor documentary, please go and do that. It's on PBS. It's free. You will learn so much about so many things you had no idea about, and you will walk away feeling much more empowered and ready to advocate for yourself. So it's a great documentary. It's only an hour. It's definitely worth your time. But in this study, the average age of the woman in the study was 63. So the problem with that is most of these women were 10, 12 years past menopause. They weren't in perimenopause and they weren't in the early stages of menopause. And that matters because when you start HRT, there are different risk components based on your age, based on your health, based on things you've had going on. And as your hormones decline, things physiologically start happening in your body. So if you're not addressing it until 10, 12 years later, again, you're going to have a different outcome. So that was the first thing. And very few women in the trial were in their 40s and 50s. And those are the people that HRT is actually most beneficial for. So the results, though, that they came up with through the study were applied to all women. So the women at 63, whatever they found, which a lot of it was not accurate, was applied to people that were 40. And as we know, 40 to 60, lots of things change and happen. But when the results were applied to everybody, it created a lot of confusion and a lot of fear. And so I want to go over some of the things in the study that kind of made it flawed. The first one is that the hormones that were used were not bioidentical. That means that they were synthetic. And if you've listened to the show long enough, we always talk about ingredients and how they matter. And it's the same thing for medication. It's the same thing for hormones. It's the same thing for vaccines. Ingredients matter. So when we're looking at hormones, we're going to want to use bioidentical that are closely matched to your real hormones. So synthetic, the things that were used were Premarin, which was actually horse estrogen, and Provera, which was a synthetic progesterone. So again, they're not the same as your body's identical hormones that we prescribe today. Not me, but providers that they do today are more aligned with our real hormones. So the risks associated with using the synthetic progesterone is not, it doesn't equal the risk of using bioidentical, so the progesterone. So again, that's where you get the synthetic versus bioidentical. That created a little bit of confusion. They also stopped the study early, which created panic. They did so because there was a very small rise in breast cancer cases. But later, when they reanalyzed the entire study, what it did show is that the increase was not statistically significant. I don't remember the exact percentage, but I know for sure it's in the M factor. But when they describe it in the M factor, it's so small that it really should have prompted people to look what else is going on in this person's life that now has breast cancer. So again, instead of that, we overreacted and we said that all hormones cause breast cancer. So, oh, the other thing I wanted to tell you is that in the group that did estrogen only, so they did different things within the group, but women without a uterus, they just took the estrogen, and breast cancer risk actually went down. But that never made headlines. We never knew about it. It was kind of just swept under the rug. And that is a huge detail. And that is really important for people, especially that don't have a uterus. So they also really didn't account for like lifestyle factors, which I think, again, if we looked at the very, very, very small percentage of people that did have a rise in breast cancer, what were the other factors in their life? So many of the people in the study that when they went back and re-looked at existing health conditions, a lot of them were obese, a lot of them had heart disease, a lot of them were prior smokers, and most of them were not physically active. And these factors do increase risk far more than HRT itself. So it was hard to say wholeheartedly that HRT was the cause of it. So headlines did make it seem that HRT caused breast cancer and heart attacks, but that really just simply wasn't true. And that message stuck. And so what did that do? It created fear and panic in the public. It created fear and panic with doctors, and doctors were told not to prescribe to their patients. So of course, if your doctor says to you, hey, what I gave you could possibly increase your risk for cancer, you're going to jump off of it, because who wouldn't do that? But by doing that, by not really unraveling the study better and understanding the parts of the study and having researchers do a better job of analyzing in those things, it created an entire generation of women who suffered. And that includes my mom. It might include your mom. It might include yourself, depending on the age in which you're listening to this podcast. So what I want to happen now, if you're listening to this and this is the first time you're hearing it, I know it can be overwhelming, frustrating, but I want to encourage you to watch that film. There's two books I really like. It's called How to Menopause and The New Menopause. And if nothing else, it just educates you, it empowers you, it gives you the ability to walk into your doctor's office and have a good conversation. And that's what I'm encouraging us all to do, is to go in with questions that you have, take resources you've learned from, show your doctor, get their opinion. If they dismiss you, if they tell you that those things are untrue, if they tell you that this is just part of life, please know that this is a sign from the universe or the sign from God that you need to move on to somebody who is either certified in menopause, because what I've learned is that GYNs and OBGYNs get a very, very small amount of education around menopause. So we need to find people who decided to go that direction and really get educated, understand doing the studies, getting certified. And my other stipulation for me personally is I want you to be in it or I want you to be past it, because I think that matters when it comes to empathy and sympathy and understanding of what you might actually be going through. All right, so just to recap super quick, the study actually did not show or prove that HRT is unsafe. It showed that starting synthetic hormones late in life had different risk factors. When started in the right window, which would be perimenopause or early menopause, and using bioidentical, the benefits outweighed some of the risks. So one of the things that I've learned that I think is really, really important for everybody to know is that as estrogen declines, we have estrogen receptors all over our body. And so when it starts to decline, the things that decline affects can be brain health, heart health, bone health, metabolic health, and just like like your overall quality of life. So if you're feeling brain fog, if you have palpitations, if you've been diagnosed with osteopenia, osteoporosis, check your estrogen. Check to see where your estrogen's at and see if that could be one of the underlying factors that is playing into it. Remember that HRT is not a one size fits all. It's not a magical pill. There's nothing magical about anything when it comes to pills or things that we can use. They're a tool in the tool belt. But remember, when we talk about holistic health, we're talking about all aspects. That is one thing that can help. But if your lifestyle's off, if you don't move, if you eat poorly, if you're sleeping poorly, if you have high stress, all of that is not going to allow HRT to do what it's supposed to do. So remember, it's kind of like holding hands. If you're going to do the HRT, you have to be willing to do the rest of the stuff. Otherwise, you're not going to get the results you think you're going to get. If you guys have any questions, if you have any knowledge, if you have any information around this, if you want to talk, share, please reach out on DM or send me an email. I'm always looking to learn. I'm always looking to learn from people's experiences. And I think it's so important that as we have these experiences, we don't feel shame. We feel encouraged and curious, and we feel like we want to talk to other people about it. I think community in this particular stage of life is so, so important. So again, reach out if you want to have a conversation. All right. Second thing is, as you guys know, most of you know that over the last year, I've done a lot of food advocating, really to help to get dyes out of school lunches, to really start to shift school lunches. We can't make an overhaul overnight because that's near impossible, because there's a lot of different steps that have to happen for a big, massive change to take place. So when I thought about where we could start, food dyes have no nutritional value. They are not nutrient dense at all, but they do and can have some negative side effects for our children's behaviors and health in general. So that's kind of the avenue that I took. I went to Tallahassee, which is my state capital. I did some legislative work that really opened my eyes to politics that I don't really love at all. And so my main goal is to get back to you guys to help you guys make that transformation within your home. As this is all unraveled, if you're not aware, the FDA had something, HHS had something, I don't remember which month, but a long time ago, at the beginning of the year, and asked food companies to come aboard and start cleaning up their food. Mostly because a lot of these companies already have the same product with different recipes, because their policies and their restrictions in other countries are different than ours. And that really got me fired up, because you're serving other countries' children better for you, not saying it's healthy, but better for you options, and not doing it here because there's no policy and there's no push for it. So that is definitely changing. And there is a company, PepsiCo, that joined in by saying that they would begin to move the needle for their company and their brands. So 2 of their brands, Doritos and Cheetos, are becoming dye-free. Very exciting, great step forward. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. The cool things about it is that they reformulated in 8 weeks. Yep, that's right. 8 weeks, 2 months. So it didn't take them years to reformulate, as some companies are asking for years. So this is proof that they can move fast when they want to. The other good news is that over this last year and many years prior, consumers have been using their voices. They have begun to speak up even louder. They are voting with their dollars, which is something I always talk to you guys about. If we're not purchasing products from these companies, their bottom line has to go down. That's just common sense. And once that bottom line starts to be effective, they're going to start listening to our wants, and they're going to move in that direction, which I believe is part of what's happened here. the change is coming, whether you like it or not. So let's hop on board and do it and be the leader, right? So PepsiCo can now say they are a leader in time and getting 2 products this year changed over. Now, again, I want to caution you, not all of the versions are dye-free, so you still have to read your ingredients, and not all of the versions are still quote unquote healthy. They might be better for you options, but they're not the swap that I would recommend when we're swapping ultra processed food for other things, because there are companies out there that are doing it even better than that still. So as this gets released, I believe it's December 1st, they'll be on shelves. There's going to be some confusion for sure. And there's going to be some overwhelm that might sneak in, like, oh my gosh, now there's 3 kinds. Which one do I pick? So they are removing synthetic dyes. So if your child is reactive to synthetic dyes, then this Doritos Naked would be a good option for you. However, when I went back and I looked at the 3 different types, the first type of Dorito is the regular one, which we know has all the things in it, right? Artificial dyes, artificial colors, and all the rest of the junk. But then I looked at Simply Doritos, and then I looked at the Naked that's about to come out. The one thing I want to caution you about is don't get duped on the marketing. Make sure that you're still flipping over and reading ingredients, because you might react to an ingredient in there that isn't in the other one. So I'm just saying, make sure that you take the time to read through and make an educated choice with the informed information that you have as to which one would be best if you're still choosing and weaning off of them as you're swapping over to something healthier. So the things that I found super interesting is that the Simply Doritos, their first ingredient is corn, but it's organic corn. And then the second ingredient is sunflower oil, and then milk, and then the list goes on. There is natural flavors, but there is no artificial flavors in this one. There's also no dyes in this one. So I thought that was really interesting. So then I looked at the Naked one, and the first ingredient is GMO corn. Now, I haven't actually picked up a bag yet, and I will when they come out in the store just to confirm. But the image that I saw with the ingredients on the back states that GMO corn is the first ingredient. And the next 4 ingredients are all different seed oils: corn oil, canola oil, soybean oil, and sunflower oil. Whereas the Simply Doritos had 1 oil and it was sunflower oil. So that was interesting. Why would they switch to 4 instead of just using the 1? Now, again, there is no artificial flavors. There's no artificial colors. So that's 2 wins, but there is still natural flavors. And if you've listened to this podcast for any length of time, you know that I have an issue with natural flavors because they're truly not natural. And I know that because I've interviewed Parker Brooks from Lovebird Cereal, and describes in that episode how natural flavors are actually made, because he worked once for a cereal company and that's what they talked about. They were doing, I think, a strawberry cereal, and he said, why can't we just use real strawberries? And they said that it wasn't flavorful enough. So they might start with a real strawberry, but they're pumping it up chemically somehow in the lab. I've also chatted in a DM with Just Ingredients a little bit, and she posts on her stories and her Instagram content a lot about natural flavors because they are creating some products without them. And she talks about the challenges that it takes to get something to taste good with real. But guess what? She's figured it out. There's also a third lady who I love and spoke with, and her name is Suzanne, and she created a gummy bear. And so we had a long conversation. I have another episode. I'll drop those 2 episodes in the show notes that you guys can go listen. But she talks a lot about natural flavors, working with industry to create her product. And it's really, really eye-opening. So I just want to kind of recap. I am still super excited. I'm super excited because I see what's possible. And I'm always going to be excited about possibilities. I see that a large company can do something in a short amount of time, which makes me super excited because I know that we don't need to wait years and years and years. And I also know that families are very unaware of all of this stuff, some of them. And so they're just dipping their toe in. And so these are good alternatives to get started. I also know that it's going to affect school lunches. and the lines where your kids go through the chip line, there might be options for kids who need to be dye-free. And that's exciting because I know having a daughter that could not have dyes, not being able to participate in going through the school lunch line was kind of sad. So again, there's a lot of wins, but we still need to be pushing. We still need to be using our voices, and we still need to be voting with our dollars. So I just want to end by saying the progress is great, fantastic, super excited, but it doesn't magically make something healthy and nourishing. And there are brands out there still doing better with fewer ingredients and real food standards. And those are the people that I would love for you guys to support because they're working hard to really create nourishing, fun, healthy foods for our kids and our families. So again, don't get duped by that shiny marketing. All right, the third thing I want to talk about, which again, this is going to be really life altering, I feel like. And that is that the food pyramid is finally, I think after like 30 years, changing. So just to let you guys know, the original pyramid that we have was not created by scientists. It wasn't created by nutritionists. It wasn't created by doctors, but it was created by industry. So if that tells you anything, it tells you that there was not much thought to health and wellness. There was much thought of profit. And so when we look at it, we can see the ultra processed, carbs being at the bottom. They're cheap, they're easy to make, and they keep you coming back for more. And then at the very top, I think it was either fat or protein. I can't remember off the top of my head. So basically, the gist of it is that it was built upside down. So it was more about profit than true nourishment. And you might be saying, well, who cares? Because we don't have to live by that pyramid. We can do whatever we want in our homes. We can create our own home pyramid. We can talk to our kids about it, things like that. And that is very true, absolutely. But what we're not remembering is that this pyramid and these policies shape school lunches. So school lunches have to go by a dietary, I'm not gonna say formula, but they can only have so much fat, so much protein. And so that makes it really difficult, even for a district that wants to create better food options. They're really limited because this pyramid has created some policies that kind of keep their hands stuck. I'm not dismissing because there can be a lot of different changes that could make the food healthier. But I'm just saying that this pyramid shift should hopefully start to and begin to shift some of these policies so that school lunch programs can start to change as well, because it does influence, the funding, the policies, and what is actually considered healthy. So that's the other thing. So I'm super excited. I can't wait for this to come out. I think from what I've heard that it's going to be more aligned with whole foods, higher proteins, healthy fats, less sugar, and less ultra processed stuff. So we'll see. It's supposed to be released on December 1st. So I'll be excited to see kind of what's done, and we can have more conversations after that. As we close today, I know we talked about 3 completely different topics, but this is kind of what I've been hearing in the news and through my groups that I belong to. I'm on the Maha Action weekly call to see kind of what's happening. Yesterday, I took a part in the School Lunch Coalition with Moms Across America, because there are amazing people on those calls that are doing such great things and showing people what's possible. And one of the really cool things, if you are in Florida like me, there is a school in Palm Bay, a charter school, and it's run by a gal who I actually had a meeting with and spoke with just to hear how they're doing things. She's showing us what's possible. She's actually been doing this for 20 years. She's transformed their food system as best as she could. And so they're wanting to do something better, and their hands are tied by a policy. And so they're trying to work through raising money to be able to kind of step outside of that box and be able to do things more the way that she wants to do them. But her school lunches, first of all, they have a garden on their campus that the kids run, which I think is so beneficial and should be on every school campus. That food gets used by the cafeteria. They use local sourcing. They use whole foods, the options for the kids. I've seen, she showed me a lunch. I mean, it's just amazing. And from that, I know it's a smaller school, but if we can get a model like that set in stone and have the possibility of expansion, then we can show other Florida counties what's possible. There is a company called Eat Real, and they just brought on their first Florida district. which is also very, very exciting. So there's big changes happening. It just takes time. So in the meantime, I am here. What my mission is to teach you all how to do the things before they actually come to fruition, because it could be years and years, and our family's health doesn't have years and years to wait. So reading ingredients, making the most educated, informed decisions that you can. And remember, ingredient is not just in foods, it's also your personal care products, it's medications, it's hormone therapy, it's vaccines, it's everything. You have to do diligence and read so that you understand what you're putting in and on your body. It is so important and it affects your health so much. There are a lot of things that we don't have control over, like environmental pesticides, things like that, that we are fighting for at legislation, especially through Moms Across America. And Glyphosate Girl, we are doing a lot, but those are things that we don't have complete control over. So what we do have control over, which is our family and inside of our home and what we purchase, that's where we need to spend our energy. If you guys haven't already, I would love for you to rate and review this episode or the entire podcast if you're a listener who's been listening for a while. This is something that I do from my heart. This is something that I want to build into a bigger community, because the more people we have listening and taking these 1% shifts every week, the healthier that we're going to become, and that will ripple out. And that is how we build true wellness. So if you would do me a favor and rate and review, share this episode with a friend who might not know what's going on, or maybe who does know what's going on, but feels overwhelmed. Hopefully this episode has delivered some really good news, some nuggets of wisdom, some 1% shifts that you can still make, and make sure that you feel empowered and stay curious. Don't just listen to one person. Make sure that you are validating your own information on your own. All right. I hope you guys have an amazing week and weekend. I will be on next week before Thanksgiving talking about gratitude. I'm so excited. I'm doing it with my friend who is a Dharma coach who teaches you how to find your purpose in midlife. And we are both doing this gratitude. The month of November, we are talking about things that we're grateful for. If you haven't seen that, hop onto my Instagram and you will see every day I'm posting something I'm grateful for. And what I really love about this is at the beginning, it's kind of easy because you can think of people and things that you're grateful for. But as the month goes on, you have to start really being intentional and dig for things that where you find gratefulness. And so I think that putting that intention, that's my favorite part of the month, because it makes me be more aware throughout the day of things I'm trying to see where I feel grateful. And so we're going to get into that next week about what actual gratefulness is, and that it's not just a thing, but it's actually creates energy and all of this other great stuff. So if you are interested, tune in next week. Also, I'm on Substack now, and if you're not on it, if you've never heard of it, I kind of think it's more aligned with like blogging. And so it's longer posts. I don't know if they call them posts, but it's longer entries, and there's more conversation, and there's authentic people wanting to read and conversate. I feel like it's a really nice community to build community. So if you haven't jumped over to Substack, I'll put that in the show notes as well for you to be able to do that. So have a great rest of your week. I'll see you guys next week. Love to you all. That episode had so many great takeaways. I hope you feel inspired and more empowered to make small 1% shifts on your wellness journey this week. I'd love to hear what resonated with you. If you want to leave a review, share your thoughts, and let me know how you're going to be implementing these 1% shifts into your life. And don't forget to subscribe and share this episode with another mama who could use a little wellness love. Want to stay connected? Join me on Instagram and Facebook at Live Life Balanced with Robin. Check out my website at livelifebalancedwithrobin.com for more resources, and grab yourself some freebies while you're there. Until next time, I hope you find peace, love, and light by breathing, being present, and allowing for all possibilities to come your way. See y'all next week. Love to y'all.